In this week's Growing with My Buds, we're going to be talking about growing cannabis in space. This was in Cannabis Tech today. They say the words cannabis and space might garner thoughts of Tumblr posts dripping with pastels and little aliens flashing peace signs rather than actual scientific research of cannabis growing in microgravity. However far-fetched glitter aliens are, our NASA forefathers likely did not think their organization will be growing pot in space, but here we are.
Hydro, baby.
Guys, no bullshit. Apparently this Kentucky-based startup called Space Tango, they've done a lot of space things already and sent stuff to the space station and whatever, and they've done other things, I think like barley and that they've grown up there. And now they say it's time they're going to test growing weed in space.
Wow.
I think it's bait.
Any reason?
They're trying to attract the alien stoners.
Trying to make sure that when we
Right.
have to vacate the Earth, we can still have access to weed. And
Takes 3
barley,
years to get to
apparently.
Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I left the
3
banky
months,
on
How
the
many
moon.
cycles is that, Rick?
Yeah.
There's a couple of tests. Mars and back. 6 years.
So they're saying that,
You just go there and instantly come back. 6 years.
just done like that,
You just go to Mars, you check it out, okay, lekker, come back.
for the
Straight.
weekend.
No, you just go
Straight.
to Pieter and there by Durban front, drive straight back.
Yeah.
But there's weed you can smoke that'll give you that same experience without the spaceship.
Hey?
Regular capsules all the way to Mars with Elon as we smoke back at school. Done. SpaceX, here we go.
I hear Elon has now overtaken Bill Gates as he's now the second richest man in the world.
Yeah, I can
Elon
believe
Musk.
it, I can believe it. Yeah, I bet there's a gram or two in that dash there in that car that's on its way to Mars. But essentially in the story, they say that what they're really curious about is they know that effectively we, in our way, have done a lot of research about cannabis, so there's a lot known about it. But what they do know for certain, and we all know it, is that it reacts to stress. Lighting conditions, water issues, whatever. And it sounds like the logic that these guys are after. They're saying if we can minimize or eliminate one stress factor, which is potentially gravity. Don't know how. I know the gravity in space, but I'm not sure what the effect would be. They think things would become potentially more productive.
Well, it will.
Plants would be much bigger, right?
Or just more per gram or whatever it is.
Well, if you look at guys that are growing now that do multiple trellises, that essentially is creating anti-gravity. If you think about it, because what it's doing is instead of the plant growing, and if you look at a plant that sits outside in the wind, it blows a lot around, and then the plant has to put a lot of energy to make cellulose, to make this plant fibers stronger, to make it stronger, to be able to hold and keep itself up, because no plant lies on the floor naturally. It wants to grow upwards. When you grow with trellising, you've got layers that allow the plant to not have to hold itself up, doesn't have to worry about being blown around, it can just literally be hooked on and just stay there. So effectively what happens is your plants become much weaker. They're not as strong, and their stalks aren't as thick because you don't let it
So those
run.
space
Lazy
plants,
stoner weed.
won't the space plants be too weak then because there's no wind? They need wind to be strong.
No, but they don't need,
they won't
they
need
don't
it now.
need, they don't need to be strong,
Okay.
because they just float. The
Yeah.
buds will just float like this.
And
They'll
if you
just-
spend too much time
Now,
there,
would
you
the
come back
legs
here, you
be
won't be able
tight,
to
or
walk.
would they be a little like?
well, I
looser
think if it
as
doesn't
well?
have to put energy into growing, strengthening itself, it'll put more energy into fruiting and flowering, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a space
Well,
engineer.
they should know they tried.
fucking really cool, yeah.
What's it say?
So
Send us up there.
what they do say there, Charles, is that effectively they are going to be doing this
Dan
with
in
hemp
space.
primarily. But what I think Dan is sort of on the right track here is hemp. It's about growing it close, but there must be a limit because it gets very tall if you grow it close because they're all stretched for the light, and it's not about bud, it's about stalk production. So if we take gravity out of the equation, you can plant it closer even than it is now and let it grow even thinner. And effectively it's almost processed itself now. Before we know it, they're going to be silk thin.
Well, are there, for instance, powdery mildew spores up there? I bet you not.
No,
But
but if not,
eventually-
though, what if there's some other kind of spores out
Well,
there?
we're still to find that out, but I'm thinking if, like you say, grow them in completely the opposite way that we would here. Don't give them space, pack them close together, no gravity, feed them fucking tons of food.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, You say feed them tons. There is one issue to this whole plan. On the space station,
You only have a certain amount of water.
the space that they are able to do their research, they grow research in, is the size of a microwave.
Oh,
For the
dear.
plant. And they go to that height.
With very expensive equipment that creates a zero gravity space, you know. To create one, to have a big plant in must cost millions.
Any space on the space station must cost billions.
Yeah.
The simulator. Or do they actually take the plants into outer space?
In a suit.
That's
Oh,
very
these
challenging.
green-
On a
Greenhouses.
satellite or on the moon.
That's like super challenging. They'd have to take clones and then flower them out immediately. Or they wouldn't want to do that because they'd...
Maybe the
No, you need to
astronaut
have
just
bigger
wanted
space.
They
to
take
Right.
tissue culture up, and they'll use tissue culture starts, and then they'll start those in that space. That's how they'll do it.
We're gonna have to send Dan up there to figure it out, guys.
Getting high while I'm high.
But it is interesting, you know, the future of weed, you know, it's going to be so curious, the CBD for aliens and all that kind of stuff, we can have fun with it all. But that there's that sort of commitment being made to growing this plant out there. Wow, hey?
Yeah.
I just wonder if they're going to buy a Lux or a Gavita or a GT300.
Or, no ways, they're just going to position that fucking thing right by the sun so it's got like the most light from the sun. Like, what better light do you want than just the sun right there?
I don't think it works like that in space. Our ozone is a massive filter that stops us from being cooked to fuck all. So, but maybe they do, bro. Maybe it's even denser. Maybe it's just one giant calyx.
It's just. Well, it'll be
What the
interesting to
guys
see
say
how
is-
it comes out
Now there should be a follow-up article.
in 6 years' time.
At least it's too far for the
Not one
cops.
season.
What they do say though, and that you're right. What they do say that's interesting is that they're going to be growing it remotely. So the lab, there's not going to be a person there. Maybe someone will put the sample in, or maybe a robot will even do it.
A camera and a remote control.
And that's it, bro. They're going to be controlling it from Earth, and they're going to be watching the grow, monitoring it, and doing.
But if they want to
everything,
smoke
feeding
it, they're gonna have to
So
go
they
there.
can still maybe even bonsai it.
Maybe it's got a clip. I don't know if it's got a clip, but I know that they're going
Little
to be doing-
robot, little Alexa there that clips the weed, trims the plant.
They're going to be doing it remotely,
City
like the
snake.
Mars rover.
I want to know what strain they're going to be growing up there.
I want to stream it, man. Can't we watch it with them? They got the feed already.
That would be amazing.
They should just give us the link and we can just plug it into the corner and we can watch the weed grow.
Yeah, man.
What the fuck is the point?
I genuinely go and watch
Have you
that.
seen that movie with that where Matt Damon goes and stays in that place? What's it called?
The Martian.
He's a Martian and he has that building and he grows potatoes
Yeah.
On Mars.
on Mars. It's on Mars, eh?
Yeah.
There we go.
But I think if it came down to it, if it was me and I was stuck there and I was Matt Damon and there was weed seeds, well, I could have one. If I had to choose between weed or potato, just hypothetically, I'd go with potato. Would you rather just go get weed and be really mar and smoke yourself out in 7 months?
Because I think you'll be able to trade some weed with an alien.
Yeah,
He's
straight
not
up.
gonna trade
Yeah,
a
for alien
potato.
That alien kush that you grow up there will be some
He's not going to be
fire.
interested in your
So
lucky.
loud that all the aliens will come
If we're
flocking.
taking a bet, we might as well take a proper bet. You know?
But-
Let's keep the chances on our side of the coin.
When that
Eat
fucking
this
blowout
stuff.
happens and you got half your crop that you'll lose your mind.
Yeah.
When that blowout happens, all your plants go.
To space, bro. Preserved forever, no THC degradation. Yeah, I can see Oaks there, the Millennium Falcon cruising by, window half down, cruising by, warp drive past the planet. The whiff comes in, Oaks stop, hit reverse, pull up to Mars.
Tank.
What's happening on here?
How much you grab? How
The
much
red,
you
eye
grab?
planet. The red eye planet.
And he'll be like, yo, no, I got these Martian cops, but I had to shit and piss on them for 6 months. Extra.
6 millenniums.
Oh, guys. But yeah, Dan, we can all wonder why. Guys, the links in the thing, I'm sure there'll be more info about it. But again, it's encouraging, you know.
Yeah.
This is a new frontier for Mary Jane. She don't go
It
into
is.
space, eh?
It
Time
is.
for her to get high.
It's very exciting.
I've always wanted to send a joint up into space and then smoke it. But I see guys have done it already.
What, launched it and let it come back down?
Yeah, you just get a big balloon and you send it up with a GoPro and a GPS and a phone and you just send it up. and you record it, and it comes back down wherever it lands. You go and get it, and you smoke a joint that's been to space.
It will come down far away from you, won't it?
No, generally, sometimes it's like 5k's radius, sometimes it's 20k's.
It depends on the
Or a
strain.
GPS on it, yeah.
Just go into a field out in the Free State somewhere and do it, because then you know, well, it's going to be in that fucking field. Then just keep a good eye and keep a phone and GPS and hope it lands somewhere and walk lots. And
I hope there's no strong winds up there.
Just keep your eye on it.
you'll lose track of it when it hits the
Literal moon rocks, bro. Literal moon rocks. But all I can wonder is there you're sitting on the Duba app, you're checking how many oaks are within 10 minutes of you with a scaife they can drop off. You get an alert, there's an oak within 20,000 miles of you. Because let's say they do send some weed back. It was cuck expensive sending it all there. That is going to be the most a gram of any weed ever, bro. We're talking million.
Space money.
Space money,
We
bro.
haven't even started earning space money. We're still busy with our stupid human money.
stupid paper and coins.
Alright, Snoop Dogg's the only oak is going to get to smoke the space weed, eh?